This is the Crappie Connection, brought to you by Redneck Rubber, Power Crappie, Visit Ridgeland, B&M Poles, K9 Fishing, Cornfield Fishing Gear, Bobby Garland Baits, Genco Fishing, Denali Rods, The Direction TV, Top Hat Jigs, Crappie Magnet, Henderson Minnow Farm,
Hook and Bullet Purpose-Built Optics.
About a mile from the Big Muddy River, place I'll always remember. Cabin on the lake and a fishing pole. Forever here I'll rest my soul. I can feel my worries drift away from being out in the sun all day. No matter where in the world I go, I'll always find home on the banks of that oxbow.
All right, guys. Brad Chappell back at the Crappie Expo 2022. I got my bud at the end,
Todd Huckabee.
I got these two outlaws in here with me today, and kind of go introduce yourself and tell us what you're about and where you're from and all that kind of good jazz.
I'm Whitey Outlaw. I'm from South Carolina. My home lake is Santee Cooper.
I'm Matt Outlaw, South Carolina. I'm a full-time guide on Santee Cooper.
The subject line, and I got this guy, or both these guys, both these outlaws in here. We're going to talk about the revolution of crappie tournaments and, some of the things that you've seen through the years and how it's changed, and even the face of crappie tournament guys.
Man, I'm going to tell you, it has made so many changes in the last 30 years that we ain't got enough time to go through every one of them because it takes so long.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, the first classics we fished back years ago with Crappie-thon, it was all a lot of aluminum boats. Well, the first big change you noticed after about 6, 7 years was glass boats come in with bass boats and then walleye boats and stuff. And then you had a lot of long line trolling, you had a lot of tight lining off front spider rigging, you had a lot of one pole fishing. And I was a one pole fisherman, by trade, coming off Santee Cooper with all the swamp. But we're back to one pole fishing now. And it's took 30 something years, and one thing called live scope has changed the whole face of this crappie fishing deal. And that's whether you're practicing for a tournament, or fishing a tournament, or just pleasure fishing. It's very addictive. I was against it when it first come out. I hated it. I hated to see it hit the market for several reasons. One, it took fishing away. It took the old instinct of fishing out for me. And it's made winners out of people that could not fish. That was my opinion of it. But after using it for 2 or 3 years now, hey, you can't hook the boat up and crank it up without it. It's there. And these young guys like Matthew here, he makes a living with it every day. Like Hayden Jeffries and them, that's what he does every day. And the only thing I hate the worst about it, me myself, is I done got too old to enjoy it. I wish it had come out 30 years earlier.
Right.
But we're now picking on the big fish, like I told you earlier.
Yeah.
And that's human nature, like me and Todd thought, it's a 6-point versus 8-point buck, you're going to shoot the 8. But now we can pick on the big fish out of a school of fish and hunt them down. But we need to be, a little more considerate now as fishermen, doing what we love to do, what we like to do, is throw some of them big fish back, especially in the spawn time. If you don't need them fish, throw them back, let them lay them eggs. It's fun to catch them, put them back, let them go. That's just one man's opinion.
The technology has made it so much easier.
Yeah.
Once you learn it. Now, if you're first getting it, it's probably the most aggravating thing you'll ever do when it comes to crappie fishing, I would think.
Run you
in
crazy.
my opinion.
Run you crazy.
It'll run you crazy.
Yeah. But I have figured out one thing, and it showed here at this tournament here in Branson. Every day on the water. That was the first 5 or 6 teams. That's what they all had in common. Every one of them fished every day on the water. If you just use it once a week, once a month, you're going to get stomped. you ain't gonna master it. It's every day. You got to learn that screen. You got to learn what to look at, be able to tweak that thing back and forth, move it in and out, and adjust everything. And these guys, these young kids, has got it. I mean, I'm happy for them. I don't have no ill remorse for none of them. I mean, I'm a 60-year-old guy. I've been fishing over 50 years, and I've had a lot of good tournaments, a lot of good fish catches. But hey, times has changed, Bo. I mean, that's just like back first classic I went to. The only depth finder I had was a 12-foot cane pole. If it was over 12 foot, I moved in. But then the flashers come out, and then you had the liquid crystal stuff, and then you got side imaging, and the side imaging. If you got side imaging down pat and live scope, you're gonna catch some fish.
Yep.
But you can talk to Matt here; he'll tell you what he does with it every day.
Isn't it crazy though? I was talking to Kevin Rogers yesterday. Isn't it crazy though to think that at some point there's going to be people who have never caught a fish without watching it bite?
Yes, sir. And it's going to take 10 years maybe now.
Maybe
10 years, 12 years, maybe 20. Somebody will come up and say, "Y'all fishing in a boat without electronics? How did you do it?" Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like it is.
I mean, the element of surprise is gone.
Yeah, it's nothing else there. I mean, you're looking at what's going to bite. You're looking at it. You know you're going to catch him. And then when you're good enough at it, you can tell the way that fish is reacting to that bait, whether he's going to bite or you flip to it one more time and leave, If he ain't active, he ain't going to bite. I don't care how much you throw to him. I mean, and what we thought about what fish did is absolutely 100% wrong. Mm-hmm. Everybody says you got to fish above them. They won't bite going down. They won't bite heading. That's bull. They will bite going down to get that jig or whatever. But there's a lot of things that I've learned. But
how many people your age that used to fish crappie tournaments are not fishing them anymore because they refuse to evolve?
It's quite a few. It's quite a few. I know of probably 6 or 7 myself, and I know there's more of them out there. And there's a lot of local guys not going to come out here and fish against us because, hey, you got the boats, the big boats. I hate to say it, alienate some people. And then you got this live scope deal going, and they say, man, I can't compete with them guys. Well, hey, anybody can learn it.
Right.
Anybody can learn it. But I'll let Matt talk to you about that part of it. But, it's took fishing to a whole nother level to where it's at now, and people like Wally Marshall sticking his neck out doing something like this, it's putting the money there. And you still got your regular tournaments if you want to mess with that, but I'd rather fish one of these every year or twice a year than I had a regular tournament, because this is more exciting to me, and it's putting the crappie fishing where it really needs to be. Because bass is big, bass has took over the world, but let me tell you, if you take the pan fishermen out of the market, they'll feel the hit. These companies would feel the hit pretty quick.
You're right.
Because we buy a lot of stuff.
A lot of boats, everything else,
boats,
engines,
trolling motors, electronics, tackle, jigs.
Batteries.
But we found out a couple things with the live scope. You don't have to have 25 or 30 rods in the boat. You ain't got to have no rod holders. And you ain't got to have many colors. A couple little jig heads and you good to go. It's pretty reasonable fishing, really, once you get set up with it. It really is. A lot cheaper than spotter rigging or trolling. A lot cheaper.
Oh yeah, people are always like, man, I don't know if I can afford that live scope. I'm like, dude, once you buy it, you'll save so much money on the other stuff that you would have bought without it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an investment, no doubt, but we used to, in a tournament, I'd have 36 rods in the boat. I'd have 4 sets of everything in there, and
20 pounds of minnows.
20 pounds of minnows. I don't think we bought a minnow in, a year and a half?
I hadn't bought none in probably 2 years.
I mean, I just don't buy them. You don't need them. I mean, because if they're going to eat, you can make him eat. If he ain't going to eat, he'll sit there and swim off. He ain't going to eat. But he can tell you about the learning it and what he did to learn it. Because he just bought the thing, and I told him he was nuts. I said, ain't nothing but. I told him, man, you nuts.
I can hear it.
I said, that thing ain't going to last. I said, that's a fad. It'll go away just like anything else. Well, I was dead wrong. And he bought it, and he quit fishing in the swamp with me. He quit tight lining with me. He quit everything. And spent 1 year and a half doing nothing but that. Now he makes a full-time living every day on it. So it works out good.
Well, he taught me everything I know about fishing. I grew up fishing old school just like he did. But what changed it for me is, we always tight line before live scope. That's what everybody did, especially in tournament setting. Everybody tight line. But what changed it for me, I was fishing a tournament. It was an ACT championship on Sardis, Mississippi.
Yeah.
And I was tight lining, and a guy come beside me with a casting rod and wore my tail out. And we didn't make the cut in the tournament. I went home, I said, I'm taking the rod holders off the boat. I said, they are not going back on. And I fought that thing. I fought it until I finally started getting better. I explain live scope, the way I explain it to people, to me, it's a lot like bowling. The concept of live scope is simple. The concept of bowling is simple. But if you don't bowl very often, you're going to suck at bowling.
Yeah.
You got this time on the water. That's the only way to learn it, the only way to get good at it. That's what it is. That's what a lot of these, like you said, a lot of your top guys, you know, they use it every day. The more you use it, the better you're going to be. That's what it comes down to.
You know, you look at the top 10 teams. You can take the top 6 or 7. Every one of them guys fish every day. That's what put them where they were at. You know, I'm not taking nothing away from the rest of the guys. I'm just saying that's what put Hayden where he was at. That's what put us in 6th place, was that. If it hadn't been, we'd have been to the back. I'd have probably been on this floor out here working all week. But we got lucky enough to get qualified, you know, to fish each day, and it's a blessing. But, you know, as far as crappie fishing evolving, man, I'm going to tell you, it's moved so much in the last 30 years. It was unreal, and now it's moved so much in the last 6 years that it did the 30 years. It moved so much further in 6 years than it did 30, just because of one deal, that live scope. It's turned the world around, and I mean, with that being said, you know, there ain't a whole lot to say except you better get one if you want to be competitive in a tournament, or either, you know, just pleasure fishing. It's really cool to watch that fish bite. I mean, I really like to flip it out there and watch that jig come down and him charge it, you know. It's really fun.
You know, I have such a fun time fishing with people, way more than the past. And it's not even all them catching this. A lot of the times, we're laughing and carrying on as they're missing them.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that fish? I mean, honestly, there's some days that people probably a quarter of a mile from us are listening at, man, I bet, what are they? They're so loud over there laughing and cutting
Man,
up.
what they drinking?
Yeah, they probably think we're
You know,
down on them or something. But
we got several things we got to do in this business. One, we got to take care of the youngins. We got to get the kids involved in this fishing deal. And these young guys went in this tournament like Hayden and them yesterday with his dad. That's cool stuff. That's days. He can live to be 90. He'll never forget that day because he had his dad with him. His dad will never forget it. And that's big money, and more money than we've ever fished for. I mean, I've been doing it a good many years, and I tell you, I was proud to see him win. I'd love to have won it myself, but you know, I still like to see a family deal. The crappie fishing is a family deal. Always has been. Always will be. But you know, people ask me a lot of times, say, "Man, what do you recommend?" I say, "Go fishing. If you catch them, you catch them. If you don't, you don't. It's still just good to be out there on the water, doing and seeing." I said, you'll learn something every day if you just look around. You'll see bald eagles, you'll see blue hares, you'll see all kinds of alligators, you know, all kind of stuff. Get out there and enjoy the water. Be careful on it, but enjoy it. But, you know, fishing has been pretty much my whole life. I've wasted a lot of time on other stuff because I went fishing. It come first. I can't say it's been bad, but it's been costly. But I enjoyed it, and you know, I'm proud that he took off with it and he loves it. But it's alienated some people from stop tournament fishing because they say they can't compete. And I will have to agree with one thing. I can't compete with him. I can compete with him if I'm with him, but without him I can't compete no more. Can't do it. And if you look at some of these other guys out there that's been as good as they've ever been in this world, you look at their finishes, they can't compete. You've got to have that youth, hand, foot, and eye coordination. It's all three, hand, foot, and eye. I don't care what nobody says.
We've been talking about this for the last few days. Almost every podcast that comes around to this at some point. And bottom line is your processor's not as fast as that Crappie's processor.
Absolutely right.
And mine's not either. And, you know, Kevin Rogers sat in here yesterday, and he was very excited and happy, and he just said, I will never win another crappie tournament as long as I live. And he said, I accept that.
Yeah, because it's kind of like the old gunfighter. We done outlived our time.
Not as fast as you used to be.
I mean, you know, you're not as fast, and we've had our runs. I mean, like caps and all. I mean, man, we've had a lot of good wins over the years, a lot of miles we traveled and had fun. And we're still going to do it till we can't. But without that in the boat,
Yeah.
I might as well just come up here and sweep floors and empty trash cans because I'm done. Because it's just I just can't do it. It's hand, eye, and foot. That's all it is, hand, eye, and foot. People don't realize that. That trolling motor is 60% of it. The rest of it is that eye and that hand, that putting that jig where it's supposed to go. Not just slinging it out there, letting it come by. You got to put it where that fish is. And it's really precise fishing. It's really more precise than what
It's like a
people would-
sniper.
It is. I mean, you got to put it on his nose to make him do the thing. And now sometimes, you've seen it. They're more active. They'll run 5 foot and hit it. Them days is good, but when they tight, you got to hit him in the head with it. But it's a game for young fellas. I'm telling you, boy. It's this game. If you're gonna be an older guy like me and fish, you better get you a young partner.
That's the best piece of advice.
You better get you a young partner that can use it.
Yeah, that's the best piece of advice we've heard all weekend.
I honestly believe it.
We've been talking about it, but nobody just came right out and said
Well,
it.
I don't mind admitting it. Without him, I'd have probably never made the first day. I probably wouldn't even have been able to practice. They'd have told me to save my time. But, yeah, if you're an older guy, trust me, I don't care how smart you are, these younger guys are going to beat your eyes out. I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, I watch him sometime up front, and I throw the same. I mean, his jig will hit, and I'll see it right in the same hole. He'll catch the fish, and I say, well, what the hell was wrong with my stuff?
Yeah.
What's the problem? The way he got it there. The things he's doing with that reel. It's a lot of technique to it.
Can't
And
teach an
just
old
slinging
dog
it
new
out.
tricks.
That's
you
the old-
can't. Yeah, you can't. I'm serious.
Yeah.
You cannot. When they say you can't, you cannot.
I bet the first time you took him out on the boat with it.
It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare.
All right, we got to hear that story.
Well, it's a long story.
He's never been somebody that's casted. He's always been dropped straight down. He couldn't hit that wall right there if he tried. He'd flip. I said, all right, you got to flip right there. When you live scuba, that's 30 foot. It's like having to cast in the size of a 5-gallon bucket. He wouldn't get within 20 foot of it. I said, well, I can't see my jig. I said, no, duh, you to the right 10 foot. It just, and it like I said earlier, it comes to practice. The more he's done it, he's gotten better. I mean, he could put the jig right where I put mine. But there's a lot of factors that come to it, and it just, the more, like I said, the more you do it, the more it becomes second nature.
It's very fun. I enjoy doing it.
It is.
But when you out there on the front and these guys are running these fish down, if you don't believe it ain't hand, eye, and foot coordination, you get out there and you try it. It will get you so frustrated that you want to take something and beat the front off that boat.
Right.
I mean, because you got fish out there, you're trying to work the trolling motor, you're working your hand, you're trying to look at that there. And I watch him fish, he don't never look up. He don't never watch where he casts. He's got that foot on there, he's watching that screen to the side, and he's not even looking out there to see where it hit the water. It's just right there, and then it'd take me the rest of my life to get to that. And I don't know how long that might be. It ain't gonna be long as it has been. But that's cool stuff though. Hand, eye, and foot, boys. I mean, that's it.
It is very cool, and like I said, it can be very frustrating, especially when you're learning it. And that's what I want to kind of, some of you guys listening is, you're gonna get frustrated.
You're gonna
to throw it and put it on the bank, or set it on fire, or whatever else. Keep going out there. Keep casting. Keep dropping baits in front of it. Learn your hand, foot coordination. And you might not be able to compete with these younger cats, but you can go out there and still catch fish.
You'll mess a fish. That's right. You could sit here and say, hey, boys, if you're over 55, don't waste your money. Don't buy it. But I ain't going to say that. You still go out there and peck along with that and catch you a cool little fish. And it does, we've all caught millions of fish. Catching the fish ain't no big deal to us no more. We just enjoy it. But watching that fish bite that jig does make it a little more interesting to me.
Yeah.
The coolest thing about it to me is just what it's taught me.
Yeah. Taught you that. It really taught me a lot about what fish do, their actions, their moves. And I'm a full moon fisherman. I like to watch the moon. And 3 days before, 3 days after, best fishing. And I've seen them be more active on the moon. even there, you know, live scope. It shows you a lot, and you know, it's just a lot to teach you. And these young guys just learn it so much faster. To set up the equipment, the tweaking it, the moving it around, and moving everything. I said, man, mine's working fine. I ain't touching it.
Right.
I won't put my hands on it. I said, what you need to move that for? Well, I'll show you. Put it back where it was.
You know, and I think another reason why these young guys are dominating so much is because when we were growing up, we were listening to our dad and neighbor and our grandpa and the guy at the bait shop. We were listening to their opinions.
That's right.
That's what we repeated when we were being interviewed for magazines. All of us, Brad. We were repeating opinions, not fact.
That's right.
That's right.
Now, these kids, they don't have those bad habits because they weren't taught that stuff, because all they've seen is fact. This is how a fish reacts.
That's it.
This is where fish live. Don't listen to if there's gar in the area, there ain't no crappie in there, because there's a lot of crappie that swim underneath gar. You come to Eufaula, if you catch a glimpse of a spoonbill, you better go get it under. You better chase him down, because there'll be 2 or 3 crappie that swim right behind and underneath that spoonbill.
You know, and with all that being said, he's 100% right, but the habits of fish, these young kids has picked up on what they're doing so much quicker, and I mean, you know, and one thing's helped them now is being electronic savvy to start with.
Yeah.
Coming up in this era with everything's games and things, and you know what I'm talking about, from the days of Pac-Man on up to now, these young kids are masters at electronics, and that's what this is. It's
Well,
electronic.
yeah, you know, I've got a grandson that's 14, 15 months old, and if you're holding a cell phone, he wants to hold that cell phone and push the buttons on it. So, I mean, you think of that early age of these guys even coming up
That's what I'm
now,
talking about.
is they're going to be even more savvy with electronics.
Yeah, I
but-
mean, it's somebody's going to come out with something in the future that's going to be even better than what we got.
What do you predict it would be?
I predict it's going to be more accurate, more of a picture. I predict it to be more clearer pictures, you know, and stuff. And they got the technology to do that now. They just can't put so much there at the time. And but you know, will it help you catch more fish? Why, certainly. You know, when he brought that thing out, I said, that ain't going to help you catch no more. Well, I was dead wrong. It helps you pick out what fish you want, what size. I mean, we pull out a lot of times on Sandy, you pull over brush. He said, oh, them little. Go down here 100 yards. He said, them pretty nice fish. Go on to another, now them the right size. You know, and start casting to them and stuff. So it's a tool. It's a fishing tool. You better get on board, or you ain't gonna eat a lot of fish. I can tell you that. Not compared to these younger guys. I can tell you, it's not gonna happen. No, sir.
Well, it's always a blast to have you on the show, Whiteley, and been waiting on Matt to get him on here. So a double outlaw episode is always a good thing.
Well, thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all had a really good finish this week as well, so something to
Yeah.
be proud about that as well.
Yeah, and you know, like I told him yesterday, I said, I owe all that credit to him. All I do is run the dip net and fix drinks and open crackers.
He's a good
biggest
net
dip
man.
man.
though.
He's a good sandwich maker.
He's a good net man. I didn't get hungry not one time yesterday.
Oh, really?
And I never miss one with the net.
How many fish you think you'd have caught on this lake without forward-facing sonar?
I'd have had to run way up that river further than we did to get in some timber with some 16-foot poles, and I wouldn't have qualified there a day, I don't believe.
No, it'd have been.
It'd have been a disaster.
It,
It'd have been a disaster. And, you know, I probably could have shot docks or something, but if I got to stoop to shooting docks, I'm done. I ain't fishing. I've never shot a dock in a tournament in my life or fished a dock. No, I ain't gonna start. I just don't do nothing for me. I'd rather be out in the middle catching them on something. You know, I don't care about no dock fishing. But yeah, if I had to tight line this lake or long line troll either one, I wouldn't have qualified near a day. Near a day. No, sir. Sad but true.
I know.
Well, I've had a blast. Y'all make sure you comment, share, and like these videos. And until next time, you got Brad Chappell here.
Matt Outlaw.
Whitey Outlaw.
Todd Huckabee.
Holla.
About a mile from big muddy river, place I'll always remember. cabin on the lake and a fishing pole. Forever here I'll rest my soul. I can feel my words